Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes. This day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Okay, everyone. Sorry, I was reading my messages. I wanted to give this update because I like to clarify where I was either incorrect or possibly incorrect. Hi, Doc Sexy. Let me introduce you. Okay, so this is going to be quick. And I put a pinned comment in my last thing. I have the LNC's response in hand, and my anxiety level's gone way down because they didn't do a dirty trick that I thought they would do, and I want to give them credit for not doing a dirty trick that I thought they would do. They did not try to cure their shitty motion, because their motion was complete shit, and I thought they would take the opportunity of a response to try to cure their shitty motion, which would be a dirty trick, and they did not do it. So I want to give them credit for that. Now, they may have realized that we would have just objected. So, you know, this credit might just be credit for being smart rather than being ethical. But also, it turns out that what was originally said to the LNC on the secret list was not entirely correct, because the impression that was given, or isn't impression, the statement that was actually given. Now, I haven't seen these emails myself because people aren't allowed to leak them. I've heard through several sources that Whitney told the LNC that the EC, the executive committee, was preparing a response. Now that I see their response, I don't think that's what happened. That doesn't I don't want people to go, oh, you flew off the handle and said something earlier. No, that was the information that I had. But I want to correct now that I see that the information I had may not have been exactly correct. It doesn't look like, though I'm not sure, the EC could have still prepared a response, but looking at the response, it doesn't look that way. It looks like the way they decided to handle was individual LNC members signing on to a response. Now, I still think that should have been done out in the open, because it's almost like voting for a response. You know, individual LNC members vote, but becomes a collective response. But I could see where they could weasel out of it. Of course, I do think that will be weaseling out of it, that all of these discussions should have still been out in the open. But where I want to correct my earlier broadcast is there may not have been a secret vote. If it had gone to the EC, there would have been a secret vote. But it doesn't look like that's what happened to me, despite that being what Whitney said was going to happen. Now, there may have been an EC vote, but I just want to be real clear that there may not have been. That doesn't mitigate the fact that all these discussions were in secret. There still is a secret email thread about this, which there never should have been. And while these individual LNC members may say, well, we could have coordinated a response we're signing off on, that's not as the LNC, it's as our individual things in private. Yeah, maybe you can argue that you could do that, but should you do that when you as an LNC collectively removed a duly elected officer? Don't you think the people that elected that officer deserve to see the arguments? And I would say they do. But I have a reputation of correcting myself and trying to be fair. And that's what I'm trying to be here. I still think it's wrong, but I'm just trying to give you what their argument might be. It was a tricky dicky way to do it, I think. But I'm not going to give you their entire response because I said I'm not discussing much of the substance. But there's something funny I want to point out to you. The response that was signed off on in original LNC members isn't 2/3 of the LNC, because they don't have 2/3. The only way they were able to remove me was by going behind Stephen Nickela's back and capitalizing on the fact that Regional Representative Hewitt was not able to be there, and it was his alternate that went against his will. They are two members short of 2/3. So they cannot claim 2/3 of the LNC want me gone, because they don't. Just let that sink in, okay? They don't have 2/3. They may have wrangled 2/3 at a meeting because Stephen Nickela's wife was having a baby, and that's a shitty way to win. And because Regional Representative Hewitt was running a campaign for governor. So they had to use what I would call not the most upright tactics. They were legal, but not the most ethical tactics to try to remove me. They don't have 2/3, and they know it. So in their response, they couldn't say 2/3 of the LNC, because basically they made the argument to the LNC, they made to the JC an emotional argument. Don't force a secretary upon us that we don't want. But they couldn't say that 2/3 of us don't want, because it ain't true. But here is where, to me, it's the utter arrogance of leaders. Who cares if you want me? The delegates wanted me. You didn't elect me, bitches. They did. What kind of utter arrogance is it? We don't want her, so you can overturn the will of the delegates of a duly elected officer. What kind of arrogance does it take to do that? I know what kind of arrogance it takes. The arrogance of the state. That's what kind of arrogance it takes. They don't have 2/3, and they're claiming their will supersedes that of the delegates. Do you smell something? I smell something. It's called shit. So, I did though. Now let me recap where I wanted to be fair. They did not pull a slimy move that I thought they would. So I am willing to eat crow on that. They did not try to cure their shitty motion. Again, perhaps it was because they were trying to do the right thing, or perhaps it's because they knew they would get smacked if they did it. I don't know. All I know is they didn't do it. Also, it's possible there was not a secret vote, but there is still an illegitimate secret email list, and there was still, in my eyes, and I would think in your eyes, unless you're trying to find a way to allow them to operate in secret collaborations between the signatory LNC members that were hidden from you and hidden from the rest of the LNC. But I did want to be sure that I was absolutely accurate in what I said. And what I said earlier was the best information I had before I actually got to see their response and said, this doesn't look like an EC vote was taken. But they don't have 2/3. You tried to cover your little tracks, but you didn't cover them quite well enough. And you had the arrogance to say, well, we don't want her. The delegates did. I don't want half of y'all, but the delegates did. So my judgment does not supersede the will of the delegates. I'm not that fucking arrogant. But I'm not going to discuss the rest of their response. Because, as I said, not trying to politicize the JC. That argument was a sheerly emotional argument that I hope the JC just doesn't take into consideration, but it was an argument that impacted upon the delegates and really just shit on you guys that I felt I needed to address. And thank you, Mr. Speaker of the Ducks. I do try to credit my enemies. I try to practice what Sam Harris called strongmanning instead of straw manning. Other people call it steel manning because you say straw and strong, they kind of sound the same. But I like strong better because it reminds me of the strong man. I guess a steel man would be the same thing. But I could have waited till tomorrow to make this correction, but I don't like letting, the sun has gone down already, but you know what it means, to go to bed owing somebody something. And I owed them to give them the credit that they didn't try to cure their shitty motion, which my anxiety level was through the roof that they were going to do that. And they didn't. So now my anxiety level's gone way down because they did the right thing, even if it wasn't for the right reasons. I don't know their reasons. And I have no clues to give me even a guess as to their reasons because their conversations were in secret. But I wanted to get that out there. And that's it. I now, because I've had such a fucking stressful day, I want to go to bed now. And we had a wonderful, though, LPCO town hall. I would encourage all affiliates to do that. We do it quarterly now at the LPCO, where we just invite members in to say whatever they want to the board, ask questions of the board. And it was very, very productive. So any LPCO members out there who attended, thank you very much. And yes, I hope this clarified. And if you guys do write the LNC, do not assume they had a secret vote. They might not have, which would have been really, really, really bad. So right now it's just really bad instead of really, really, really bad because the secret list is still a big issue. But I laughed my ass off when I saw they didn't have 2/3. Oh, you want to know what else was really bad? This is up to the regions. But I would encourage you guys, if you are well, you all are mostly in a region. There's a few states that aren't. A bunch of regional alternates signed when their representatives didn't. Regional alternates are spares. They shouldn't get to sign. They only have a vote when the regional doesn't vote. and doesn't expressly say they don't want to. So for instance, Jared Hall went against Dustin Nana to sign this. David Sexton went against Dustin Nana to sign this. I will give TJ Ferreira credit. He did not go against Jeff Hewitt to sign it. Those regionals, if they're your regional alts, I'm not a big fan of removing people. That is within, though, the purview of the regions, and if that's what you think should be done, I can tell you in Region 1, if our regional alternate went against the regional, and Chris Lucchini here is just, whatever. I'm not even getting into it. Just not even getting into it. Not a trustworthy person. There were no actual yes votes in our region except for his, because he's a state chair of New Mexico, so he got 2 bites at the apple. There were no yes votes. And he took abstentions or do what you want things, which weren't yeses, as carte blanche to vote yes for our region to remove me. That is a shitty representative. Yeppers. And thank you. I saw I got a super chat earlier. I was trying, it says, those with easy lives are those who would not fight oppression. Keep fighting for liberty. This is a forever war. Thank you, DJelf7. And I am going to be taking a look at those bylaws I promised. I've been really caught up with this. So please let the rest of the people in that group, I'll email them tomorrow if you don't get to first. Yeah, and look how I burn the shit out of the side of my face with a curling iron. And I did get some sun. That's why I do look glowy. Yeah, so I will be taking a look at those bylaws. I just got a lot of shit to do. I have it on my plate. They didn't give me any kind of time frame, but I will take a look at them. I do want to sleep, though. I didn't sleep last night because I knew this response was coming, and I was just so stressed out. Okay, everyone, that's going to be it for this evening. I am not going to do the whole closing thing. I'm just going to end this, and I hope you guys have an awesome night. Mi guapas de libertad.